Hello, everybody. It's Fight Club Hubs. Welcome to another wonderful episode of GVN Live, episode 93. Wow, or 94. I'm sorry. We're getting up there finally. It only took us 5 years. We're almost at 100 episodes.
Hey,
Hey, but today we're gonna have a fun episode. We're gonna bring back our raging on assholes in the gaming industry. We're gonna have a little post E3 chit chat. And there's a couple of anniversaries that are being celebrated. One today and one tomorrow, and that's going to be quite exciting. Because, well, actually, there's actually a shitload of anniversaries that are being celebrated this year, and this is probably one of the first couple of major ones that are happening right now this year, which is the release of Quake One and the first Sonic the Hedgehog. So, but we're not going to talk about them right now. We're going to have a little bit of fun, speculating, or not speculating, just having a nice little look back on their impact and whatnot in the game industry after we talk about, we get to know each other, and then we talk about the Five Nights at Freddy guy who is up to no good. So, first things, let's go around the table and see how everybody is doing, and let's start with Spencer. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I got a new heating and air system today in my house. So
Woo!
currently it is not 5 degrees warmer than my thermostat says it's supposed to be. So that's pretty sweet.
hey,
Didn't like
pretty good.
didn't like how much it cost, but it was pretty sweet.
I think I know exactly how you feel because last year, after living in this house for about almost 14 years, I finally got an air conditioner unit installed. You could actually probably see it. Oh, Mike's in the way. Right there, I got it
Oh,
installed.
okay, yeah.
Right there, and it cools my entire downstairs area. It cost about $5,000, but still, it feels so nice, and I wonder why I didn't do it sooner.
Right? Yeah, like ours was the inside unit was the original one from the house, and our house was built in 1960. So
Oh,
it was
geez.
like, yeah, it was ginormous. It was belt driven, so like when it turned on, it just sounded like there was an engine running in my house all the time. So
Hmm.
you'd be asleep and you would get woken up just by like a doof sound, which was fucking
Oh,
terrible. And it just didn't cool the house, but like I can feel the cold air off of this one now. So I'm like, thank God. So that's pretty sweet. I'm
And
digging
you
it.
got a couple of computers running in the background, some very souped up ones, right? So they got all that extra heat.
Yeah, I have two PCs that are always pretty much always running because this is like the new one that I just got for games and
The other one for
editing, and
mining.
then
mm-hmm.
I don't. I thought about using one for that, but
How
the
dare you harm the
cost
environment?
the cost of the environment and my electricity bill were not going to even out. I don't think. But then I have like a dedicated stream PC that's in here too, so this room gets pretty toasty.
Oh my.
That
Oh.
tracks.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to since we were here a couple weeks ago?
Um, Not a whole lot. Working as usual. Played through a couple of games. Still playing GTA.
Hmm.
Mark, myself, and my wife and another friend of ours did a little bit of heist preparation. Went way worse than expected, but we had fun with it.
Mm.
And then I
Ah,
played through. Mark's not going to give a shit about this, but I played through Tell Me Why, the Don't Nod game that came out last year, the year before last. I don't know. I played through it finally,
close enough.
and right before this, I played maybe an hour and a half of the new Dungeons and Dragons game, Dark Alliance.
Ooh,
Ooh, I'm
how is it?
sorry.
It was fine.
Yeah,
Have you
that seems to
It
be
played?
the collective.
It's supposedly the spiritual successor to the Boulder Gate Dark Alliance games. So have you played those prior?
I haven't. Mark, myself, and a few of our other friends played some Vermintide for a little while.
Hmm.
I can see where people are comparing it to that. It's like a load into a
Hmm.
mission, go from A to B kind of thing. There's a lot more side stuff that you could do, like side, not quests, but objectives. Um, it was a lot slower. There were a lot less enemies,
Hmm.
which, give or
That
take, if
sounds
that's good or bad,
disappointing.
you know. And I did play on the easiest difficulty. I was by myself and I loaded into the lowest power level. So maybe if you play a higher one, that's a different situation. There's more, maybe. It was fine. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have like, I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't immediately in love with it. You know what I mean? Like it felt like a game that's would be fun to play with some friends as more this is your background piece and you're just hanging out with your friends. Um, Maybe it gets better as you go along, but from now it's all right. Um, the vo- the voice acting was weird in it. I thought like what is he's like the merchant. He was kind of like it felt like his voice was a very normal voice that very much stood out from all of the other like fantasy voices. Like you have dark grisly voices and goblin voices and things like that. And then you just have this dude that's just like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He just sounds like a guy. And I was like, "That sounds out of place to me." Um,
Mhm.
and the goblins, if any of you have watched Community, you're never going to be able to unhear this. The goblins sounded like the second D&D episode in Community where Abed is making goblin voices. Sounded just like him. You'll never be able to unhear it. I heard it one time and I was like,
Oh
"Oh my
no,
god, that's totally him."
that's awful.
I guess it's a good
So,
thing I don't watch Community then.
if, yeah, you wouldn't be able to unhear it. I'm downloading it on my PC right now. I played it on my Series X. I should probably talk about the fact that I got a Series X too. That happened.
Oh, hey,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, that was something that I did. Forgot that. But I played it on there and it was fine. The one complaint that I had, and this is maybe just like a specific complaint to playing on TVs if you're like on your couch and kind of far away, I couldn't read my objectives. It was like
Oh.
the tiniest little font. And I was like, I don't know what I'm
No.
supposed to do. So I just kind of went forward and hit
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
So options doesn't have a UI or font adjustment at all.
I couldn't find one to make the font bigger,
Hmm.
which was kind of surprising because they even have like an accessibility page, which I think that's where it would be like big font, like change
Yeah,
font
big.
sizes or various things, or maybe even just give it a background so it stands out a little bit more because it was just white text on the game. So it was like, I just can't read what's happening. So I just kind of went forward and hit every enemy until they all died, and it said that I was done.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, it just finished downloading it on my PC, so I'll have to play it on PC and see if it's a little bit better, or if that's just like part of the game that it's hard to read right now.
Okay. Continuing on, Mark, how are you feeling?
I am deeply mediocre at present.
That actually sounds like an improvement, to be truthfully honest.
Yeah, I'm better than I was. But like it's just kind of eh, eh. You
Hmm.
know,
Triple eh.
it's largely fine. Nothing particularly exciting, nothing particularly terrible. My guts feel better than they did, so I'll take it.
It's a win.
There you go.
So, have you been playing anything aside from the online games with Spencer?
I've pretty much been exclusively playing GTA Online at this point. It's fine. Um, playing it with playing it publicly is kind of a shit show, to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
it's just
public
it's just
servers are a
not.
nightmare.
Yeah, it's the people who are in the public servers are mostly just the worst, and everything about them is the worst. Um, Whereas like if you play it like alone, or if you play it like with a group of friends, it's pretty solid. It's quite enjoyable. I absolutely would not, under any circumstances, recommend playing it with strangers whenever possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like people are just the shits.
Okay. Um, and that's about it for you. Just the GTA rummaging.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, honestly.
Okay. Let's go right over here to Jan.
Hello.
Shalom.
I'm playing a lot of New Genesis since that launched. I've already maxed out Gunner. I'm almost done with Fighter. Um, I like it a lot. It's so much cleaner than OGP. Like vanilla was like good for what it was, but it was dated when it finally made it to the States. So the fact that we finally got a chance to sort of start from the beginning again is kind of nice. But I've definitely been enjoying it a lot more.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much sitting at the affix grind at this point, so I'm excited to see sort of where that's gonna end up. Because like right now we have a basic idea of how our affixes are gonna go on our weapons, but like we'll see. Multi-weapon changes some things.
I
Other than
haven't.
that,
Yeah, I haven't delved too much into PSO2 New Genesis, to be honest. I'm actually right now as we speak. It's 99.18% done re-downloading on my PC as we speak. There's been some issues apparently with it on the PC, but I have it on the Xbox
huh?
One, and well, it surprisingly plays a lot more choppier than vanilla-based PSO2, which I find really shocking.
Hmm. I don't know. I haven't had a single problem with it, but I've been running it directly from Steam, so
Yeah.
no issues there. I know a lot of people have been grabbing it from the Microsoft Store, and I'm just like, why would you do that?
Well, I'm trying to do it through the Tweaker program, but
Oh, so fun fact, the team that was working on it like knew of some of the issues that were happening with it. And it has to do with the multi launcher, the drop down that lets you switch which version that you want to download from.
mm-hmm.
And the Steam version kept not updating the files correctly, so it kept corrupting boss files. So you'd be in a boss fight, but the boss would be invisible, and you couldn't actually see it, and it would just hit you. So like they knew about it, they tried to fix it, they ran some updates. Another thing got corrupted, and then it messed up the Epic launcher, and then something happened with the Microsoft one. Like the Tweaker guys have been putting in a lot of fucking overtime right now, and I'm just like, I'm just playing it straight from Steam, and I'm like, this is nice. There's not any problems.
I prefer to have the Windows version, if anything, mainly because well, it connects to my Xbox Live account, and yeah, I almost got every single achievement in the in PSO2 vanilla, and I kind of like to continue that progress. I can't do that if I'm playing it on Steam.
I mean, the Steam has all of the same
Well, Steam has its own separate set of
achievements.
achievements, but if you unlock those, they're not going to unlock on the Xbox Live account. So,
Right, but the ones on Steam have boobs.
have what?
Boobs.
I don't understand.
They have boobs.
I mean,
No, I get
okay.
it. I hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. The words individually all make sense to me. It's just that I like as a collective grouping, I'm not grasping what the fuck you mean. How
When
does an
you get
achievement
achievements-
have boobs?
When you finish getting achievements on PSO2 on Steam, they make pictures of the main PSO2 girls.
Oh,
So
I
every
can just
time
I
you
can just go to
finish,
fucking Hentai Foundry if I want to see that.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. But like, I just think it's funny.
That's
But
fair.
I've been enjoying it. I had somebody give me a copy of Guilty Gear Strive this afternoon, so yeah, I've got pretty much all of the three main games I actually wanted right now. So Virtual Fighter, Strive, and New Genesis. So I'm good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. For me, I've been just playing Virtual Fighter. I have tried, as I said, playing a little bit of PSO2 New Genesis. Haven't played that much, but I like it. It's pretty. Um, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown has pretty much been ruling me at this point. I am insanely excited, and I've been hyping up this tournament that I have coming up this coming Sunday. Just gonna announce it again. So this Sunday at 4 p.m. starting, I'm gonna have a 64-man bracket tournament that's gonna be running with the assistance of 3 other streamers that will help me run this. The tournament will end on my stream, but it's gonna be insane. We have a $550 pot that I put up for grabs for top 3 to be split. And of
Is there a
course,
Matcherino for it?
yep, it's through Matcherino. So people want to donate to it and make the pot even bigger. I mean, there is that option.
Mm-mm.
So,
Do you have a link for that?
oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
absolutely.
do you have the match? Yeah, if you've got the Matcherino, that'd be great. You can put that in chat really
Well,
quick. 'Cause that'd
I'm
be
doing
good.
the bracket through Challenge because we've had issues with Matcherino
Right,
going
but
down in the middle of tournaments.
you're
But I
still
will.
using it for the payout, right?
Matcherino is being used for payout. The only
Right, that's
thing,
all I care about.
yeah. So let me just.
Doesn't matter if it goes down. I just want to make sure that that's what you're using for your payout.
Of course, yeah.
Because then I can click on the links to like add extra money to the pot.
In fact, yeah. Let me. Where is my link? Here we go. I will be posting it right here in the chat. If you guys
Say what you will about most tournaments, but running Matcherinos has been just absolutely fantastic for stuff. I'm happy that it's a thing.
Yeah, we've been getting some help with Arturo, who has been in the FGC for almost forever. Been a streamer at most of the tournaments that I have helped run for the last 15 so years. He's actually heavily involved with that. I think he works with them. So, like, if I have any questions or whatever, I'll try to hit him up, and he can help us out. He's actually become a big fan of Virtua Fighter as well, which he's actually helping out with the thing we have called the Virtua Fighter Global Showdown, which is actually a tournament which is taking part in several parts of the world with a grand final collection going on in Glasgow, in the UK. As in physical location, we're going to be getting like regionals with like top 8 people from each one. We'll have top 8 Japan, top 8 United States, top 8 Europe. We're also going to, if they can fly out, we're going to have spots open for people, say, from Korea who are actually interested in this. If people from like other parts of Asia or India or whatever, not India. There are Virtua Fighter players like like the Tekken players from the Middle East. Sorry, I don't know why. There's some players there. If they can make it out, then they definitely get their spots because it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass for them. We don't know how strong or big their communities are. But it's pretty much something that's going to start in Q3 of this year. We're going to have online tournaments and stuff like that for accruing points, and the top 8 players with the most points will be able to represent their region going towards the finals in Glasgow. And from there, we will be live streaming live. We are actually using Arturo. Not using Arturo. Arturo is involved in helping with the streaming because he has such a huge following, and they have people who are willing to help donate money that we're going to be raising money for all top 8 players from each region to be flown out to Glasgow.
That's pretty cool.
So it's going to be like we're taking this very seriously. If Sega
Way to
wants
put a
hop on
fucking
board,
Virtual Fighter major together without Sega support. God damn.
Jesus, dude.
I mean, it is
Like, that's
it's not,
huge.
it's not the first time that we've done it, but I mean,
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, we get a brand new Virtua Fighter, and like all of a sudden we're like, oh, by the way, Sega, people still like this fucking game.
actually,
you
we
should
planned
still
this
support
before.
it.
We actually started planning this at the beginning of the year. We actually went live about 3 months ago before the inkling of a new Virtua Fighter release was upon us. Which oh hey, Ultimate Showdown. By the way, it's coming out next week. It's like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna switch over to this now because we weren't sure when this game was gonna come out and if we would use it for the tournament. And well, lucky us, it came out this early, so it worked out well. But aside from all that, looks like we got a wonderful show going on tonight, and we are going to start with the Rager himself presenting the topic. Mark, let's talk about a little FNAF.
So, basically, it's kind of been if you went and you Googled it, it wasn't hard to know that Scott Cawthon, creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, was an evangelical Christian. And generally speaking, when somebody is described as an evangelical Christian, you have a pretty good idea of what it is they do and do not believe, what it is that they do and do not endorse, and so on.
Praise Jeebus.
Right. So, apparently, in the past few weeks, well, the past couple of months, actually, it had been revealed that Cawthon, with the massive amount of money that he has made off of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, has been contributing to Republican campaign reelection funds, inclusive of, but not limited to, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, among others. And strangely, although not that strangely if you pay attention to politics, Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard. That became a public to-do, and a bunch of people behaved really, really badly about it, harassing him, doxing him, and things of that nature, which I don't endorse in this sort of a situation. And then he essentially responded ultimately by first releasing a public statement that was like, okay, I'm, I'm not a person who is bigoted against homosexual people. I don't like that sort of thing. I donated money to all of these people because I believe that they are the best people to run the country, which that terrifies me for reasons completely unrelated to their LGBTQ stances, but we'll get into that later. He then doubled down and essentially said that he was retiring, but was continuing to allow people to develop stuff in the FNAF universe. So essentially, he's no longer going to be making games, but he's going to be continuing to make money off of those games. So, I'm not like openly angry about the situation or anything like I am with a lot of people. I kind of want to start by noting, if you legitimately think Tulsi Gabbard was the best possible person to run anything, punch yourself in the dick because you're a fucking idiot. Like, I generally tend to vote Democrat because I am more of a socialist than anything else, and the Democrats are the closest that you're normally going to get there that have a hope in hell of winning. But Tulsi Gabbard is a fucking crazy person. At best, she is directly associated with a father who was an open, virulent homophobe and also associated with a sex cult. At worst, she's a member of a sex cult. So, yeah, fuck Tulsi Gabbard. If you think Tulsi Gabbard is, should be in any kind of position of government, I don't like you. You're not invited to my birthday party. But yeah, the rest of it is basically I do not like people who attach themselves to more right-wing points of view, and then attempt to disassociate themselves from the stuff that those people believe that might directly harm others. I don't care for that sort of thing because it's very much saying, well, I want to accept all of the things I like about a candidate without having to deal with the stuff I don't like. I voted for Barack Obama. Not that it's anybody's business. And I actively wrestle with the fact that he, was responsible for fucking blowing up children with fucking knife missiles. Because that's what you should do if you vote for a fucking candidate and they ultimately do things that you disagree with. The correct response is not to say, well, I voted for them for this policy, but I don't have anything to do with that. Fuck you. You, especially in 2020, you know goddamn well what their fucking policies are towards LGBTQ people. You fucking know. It's public knowledge. Everybody fucking knows. You've had 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency. You fucking know what their policy is. If you are saying I voted for them knowing that anyway, you're basically saying, look, I don't fucking care about queer people. I think Donald Trump is the best possible thing to run the country, even though he very specifically has fucked over trans people and gay people, and is very specifically getting people nominated for the Supreme Court who want to fuck over women and trans people and gay people.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you're saying, that's fine. But own that shit. Be a fucking asshole. if you want to say, well, I think that this stuff is good, but I don't have any association to that other shit. No, 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 no. You don't get to get away with that. As far as like people behaving shittily towards Scott Cawthon publicly, um, I generally do not support doxing. In most circumstances, um, I generally do not support harassment in most circumstances. Scott Cawthon falls into the most circumstances category there. I disagree with his political views. I disagree with his personal views. I do not think him donating money to senators and governors and presidents that I disagree with is grounds for harassment and doxing. That's not appropriate. And if you did do that, fuck you. You're a complete toilet. But also, Scott Cawthon's still a dick. So.
Anybody else have anything they want to say about this, or are we ready to wrap it up? Because Mark pretty much hits it nail on the head. I hear typing.
I mean,
Yeah,
I played the
ignore
original.
me.
I played the original Five Nights at Freddy's, and like it was fine for what it was. But you know, that man made like a gajillion fucking dollars making like animated gifs of stuff. It was fucking amazing. I would
Yeah.
like, you know, it's just again, I don't. It's just really frustrating to me at the end of the day. Also, that there are like a gajillion people who are defending this guy. Um, like it's fine if you want to defend him against harassment or you know doxing. That's completely reasonable. He should not have been harassed. He should not have been doxed. But like, you know, um, like it's okay if you want to defend his right to have his beliefs. Though I feel like if we're having the argument of like whether or not you are legally allowed to have your beliefs, I think you've kind of lost at that point. But like, yeah, ultimately at the end of the day, it's just I don't, you know, I think it is also completely reasonable for me to say, nah, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. The things that he believes are fucking at best disagreeable and at worst outright repugnant to me. And I don't think you get to say, well, I agree with all of this stuff the candidates I donated to believe, but I don't agree with this other stuff. Like, no, you have to wrestle with all of the shit that they do. Like, you know, if I voted for somebody, I'm still gonna fucking publicly call them out and say, dude, what you do is fucking bullshit. The fact that he's basically saying, well, I'm going to donate to all of these people, but I'm not like going to, you know, publicly decry that. I'm just going to like quietly let that go. You're at best, you are willing to put your business and financial interests ahead of people's lives. And at a worst case, you're just a fucking monster. Dude. Like I don't at the end of the day, like I don't begrudge the guy the ability to make his money. I think it's kind of tacky that he's like, well, I'm going to retire now, but other people are going to continue to make FNAF games and make like a gajillion dollars off of them. So I'm going to make all of the money, but I'll be even less involved in the process. It's fucking, you know, J.K. Rowling and like the fucking Harry Potter game that came out from fucking EA. Um, I am not going to play a FNAF game. I'm not going to be involved in a FNAF game. I'm not going to fucking stream them or anything of that nature. If you agree with the band politically, more power to you, I guess. You can't be my friend and you can't come to my birthday party. But like I can't stop you from believing that. If you think it's wrong that he got harassed or doxxed, I agree with you. If you think he should be allowed to believe what he believes, oh boy, I guess. But also, fuck him.
Alrighty, well,
Yeah.
I don't really have anything more to add. Jan, Spence?
We can just stick him in the same closet of we don't want to deal with you as Dev and Honey Dev, I think. Yeah.
Well, mostly yes, but Yandere Dev, like, unlike him, Scott Cawthon and Honey Dev actually made something. I'm sorry, but
No, I know you're not wrong. That's why it's funny.
Also, I think Honey Dev is probably being entitled to an opinion doesn't really make them less of an a-hole. Correct. I would also say probably Honey Dev probably is worse, comparatively speaking, than Scott Cawthon, because Honey Dev very clearly believes all of that stuff, but also actively went out in public and tried to do pickup lines on women and put it up a YouTube video. So if you're gonna do that mystery furry hat shit, fuck you, get the fuck out of here, dumbass.
So
at some point, that guy is.
At some point, someone's gonna have to explain to me about this Yandere Dev guy, because I actually heard his name in a YouTube video, which I'm not exactly sure what was going on about it. But
I'll give you the too long didn't read version. He's been making a game for a fucking decade called Yandere Simulator. Where do you know what a Yandere is?
Yes.
Okay, it's that you're playing a video game where you're a Yandere. Yandere Dev's problem is that he's very much a control freak over the products that he has made, or the framework that he has made, but it's not great necessarily. It's not terrible, it's just not great. So he's been basically plugging away at the same shit for a decade and being a diva about it.
Okay.
He's in the grand scheme of things, he is just somebody to kind of point and laugh at, rather than a Honey Dev or a Scott Cawthon or a Notch, where they're actively awful fucking people. Yandere Dev is just kind of a person who keeps making the same thing forever and is a little bit too entitled about how good they think they are at it, but otherwise is mostly harmless. Okay. Unless he went on a racist tirade and I missed it, in which case fuck him.
I don't know. It'd be kind of hard for somebody to go on a racist tirade and you not notice.
Look, man, just because I'm terminally online doesn't mean I'm that online.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there. Again, Jan, Spence, anything to add to this topic before we move on?
Nah, fuck him.
Nah, fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck them. All right, moving on. So
the fuckums have it. Let's go.
Segue.
Unanimous. Fuck them.
Exactly.
I know we didn't discuss it or anything. Do we want to talk about do we want to briefly touch on the Twitch shit where
yeah, sure.
The fucking Twitch meta?
Indie Fox?
I think if we wait maybe another week, some kind of other crazy thing is going to happen, and I think we can make the next episode all about Twitch again. I'm sure something's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
That's fine. I didn't really feel like talking about Amaranth right now anyway, so we can wait 2 weeks.
In fact,
and
she
see if
actually
something
just
else
had
happens.
an article, I forget, on a website. I was just reading. Apparently, Amaranth was being interviewed, and she's just milking the money for as much as she can because she realizes she can make money about it. And afterwards, she's going to retire, and she's going to do her dream job, which is working as a animal rescue provider.
Yeah, I don't have any disrespect for the hustle insofar as that goes.
No.
I just I don't really have much to say about the bans at the moment. So yeah, let's give it 2 weeks, see if any other fucking disasters happen. We mentioned it now. It's a thing. We're aware of it. We know that it happened. But we're going to wait and see if anything else weird comes out of the hot tub meta. If they do something else with it, with the ear licking meta or whatever the fuck, before we actually sit down and have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Okay, but let's move on to something a little more celebratory. So, ladies and gentlemen, today and tomorrow, a couple of major anniversaries are happening. Today, 25 years ago, id Software released Quake, one of the first fully 3D FPSs to ever grace the PC market and the gaming industry. And tomorrow, we are graced by the Blue Blur himself, Sonic the Hedgehog, debuting on the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive. So, both of these are actually monumental moments. It's kind of hard to believe that they are because, well, for one thing, the Sonic the Hedgehog could have been a big misfire for Sega, who was doing everything they can to get ready for the late launch of the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom with and the fact that Nintendo came out of the gates when they announced Super Famicom saying, "Hey, we got Mario 4 on the way." So, Sega was planning a mascot literally just to combat Mario, and it could have blown up in their face. So, the fact that Sonic the Hedgehog had three, I guess, four good games on the Genesis. I mean, if you want to count Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3 Knuckles as one game, then three good games, a mediocre pseudo 3D game, and then had a rough time with 3D games from that point on, starting with the Sega Dreamcast onto today. And he's somehow still a significant pulp culture icon. I mean, he still has a balloon in the Macy's Day Parade, from what I recall. And, I mean, the fucking Blue Blur. Let's just talk about the first game in general, because there's just a lot of interesting stuff that I learned. I actually watched a video not too long ago from, I think it was BTV or something on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the channel, but there was some really interesting stuff. Like, we all know the origins of Sonic the Hedgehog, where it was a bunch of guys that were drawing out sketches of like what they think their mascot should be, because Alex Kidd was not really doing it for them. And so they did some animals, they anamorphosized them, anthropomorphized them. God, that's a hard word to say sometimes. And the final ones that they were coming on, they were leading on was, of course, not a hedgehog, but a porcupine, a rabbit, an armadillo, and a human. Now, the human eventually became Dr. Eggman as the villain, later renamed Robotnik when brought to the States. The bunny actually got shelved, although they say that they did use the design and eventually morphed it into the character of Ristar, if you remember that game on the Genesis. The armadillo got shelved and later was reused as both Mighty the Armadillo, who first made his appearance in the arcade Sega Sonic game, and then later Knuckles Chaotix. And then they modified the porcupine to be a hedgehog, and then they made him blue. So, I mean, it was a very interesting evolution of a creation of a character, wearing red sneakers, moves fast as lightning, and then the marketing behind all of that worked very well. So, and the game was actually very good, although it was easily surpassed by both sequels of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And I guess we can get some people's insight on, what they thought of the character, his evolution, his impact on the gaming industry from that point on. Let's start with you, Jan. What do you think of his impact right away in terms of, let's say, being direct competition to Nintendo, and how well Sonic was used to, go for the throat, essentially?
Sega had a really good way of being able to like throw hands at Nintendo, because every time they were talking about it, they were like, "Oh, blast processing! It has what Nintendo don't," and all the commercials were just shit talk the entire time. And it really kind of played to Sega's benefit, because it made them come off as the edgier, cooler system that you wanted to have in your house. But Sonic being what he is, it really played to a lot of people's conceptualizations of platforming. Because prior to that, you had Mario, and even then, that was still very static, if that makes any sense. It was a lot slower. I'd have to say that when Sonic 2 came out and they really sort of upped their game with the sound fonts and the graphics, it really kind of solidified everything for not just Sonic but for Sega. Is he's the guy we're going with. He's a hype man. This is what we're gonna do with it. I'd say that out of all of the games that they made in the 2D genre, I'd say it was probably Sonic CD is probably the best one of all of the 2Ds, next to Sonic 2 and Sonic Mania. And that's a more recent entry, obviously. If we're gonna go into the 3Ds, I'd say Generations Colors, and then obviously everyone knows about '06. Like, if you don't know about Sonic '06, do yourself a favor and go look up the videos, because holy shit, that is a clusterfuck of a nightmare of a video game.
And then of course you had what's this? What's the third 3D Sonic game? I can't remember it. The one on why am I suddenly drawing a blank on the name? It's the one where you have the teams of like 4 teams of like the same practical
Sonic Heroes?
Sonic Heroes, yeah, that was a clusterfuck as well. That predated Sonic '06.
Wasn't nearly as glitchy, but it was still. I mean, it was still not good. I think a lot of it was the Dreamcast era really tried to play to the 3D arcade style hardware that Sega was really trying to manipulate. I think the biggest issue was that Sega was always trying to be an at-home arcade machine, whereas Nintendo and Sony were always trying to be more about, this is the home market. It's not the same in in America as it is in Japan. We have to cater to different demographics. And Sega's are like, but arcades. So it always really seemed interesting to me that the mascot of Sega ended up being Sonic, one of the only games that did not see that many arcade releases.
He only got
But
maybe 2 or 3 at the most.
Well, I mean, he had a couple of like racing games, and then like the Sonic the Fighters game that was.
Yeah, he had the one racing game, he had Sega Sonic, and he had Sonic the Fighters, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which, oddly enough, is one of the only games that's actually good on arcade hardware, because, as we all know, AM2. But I think that culturally, Sonic has enough of a presence that it makes sense as to why they kept him as the mascot and why he evolved the way he did. I still wholly preserve that Toei Sonic is still the best Sonic versus any of the modern Sonics. However, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the 2D Sonic and the Toei Sonic are very closely related, so a lot of that has to be, I think, a bit more nostalgic for people. And I think that's why, especially like Sonic Mania and the DLC, like really hit home for a lot of Sonic fans, and why a lot of people were like, this is the Sonic games we've been waiting for, and it's really strange because Sega was always like, but 3D, and we got to keep up with the times, and everyone's like, but Sonic is meant to be on a 2D plane. So like adding in some of the 3D elements into things like Sonic 3 and what they did with like Generations, I feel like that's a good mix of how Sonic in general should have evolved anyway, but like Baseline had a very unique take on it. But like I said, it's interesting to see why Sonic ended up the way he did, and how he stayed the mascot is still like the biggest mystery, because like I said, for Sega, who has always been so hard on arcade hardware, making their mascot something that was very limited in arcades is very strange comparatively.
And you would think that because, like you said, Sony and Nintendo were like, yeah, home market, and Sega being, pushing the arcade at home and not realizing that the Genesis actually sold horribly in Japan. The Mega Drive sold horribly in Japan, but it sold great in America and in Europe and in markets where Nintendo has not breached, mainly because they, like Tom Kalinske, approached the U.S. market in a different way, which is why the Genesis was actually able to go toe-to-toe with the Super Nintendo. And the way they marketed Sonic the Hedgehog, and they actually made modifications to, like, the art and stuff like that, so it was more appealing to the American market and whatnot. So it definitely was able to draw people in, and Sonic, I believe, sold somewhere around, like, I want to say 500 million copies, or I'm sorry, 500,000 copies in the first week of his release, and ended up with like 2 million Christmas that year. I have to double check that again, but like Sonic was a big hit, and that was like that was just after the Super Nintendo, or just before the Super Nintendo dropped in November of that year as well. So that was a very big deal for them.
Well, and I think a lot of it also held and like not to stray too terribly far from Sonic as the topic, but around that time frame was also the same time that Sega was really trying to push the concept of arcade at home. And was around the same time that they were pushing out like MegaNet and the modem that came out for the Genesis. And so, late 1990, early 91, they're pushing hard on this whole concept of online capability, play with your friends just like at the arcades. And again, it really speaks to where Sega thought, hey, we want arcades to survive, and we want to be able to do it in such a way that it makes sense. And this whole time, they're pushing like all of these other games that aren't Sonic, and yet Sonic is still the number one cultural icon that is Sega.
You all right there, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
The man's just breathing.
It was a very heavy breath.
It was
That
like a
was a-
hiccup, kind
I was
of.
about to say, I thought it was like a hiccup, like a poop
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, hiccup.
happens.
Just want to make sure you're not dying on stream.
No, if I'm
Sure,
dying, I'll make
people-
sure to disconnect first.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's good. Don't want to ruin the stream.
Wow. Anyway, but that's the thing about Sega, and like why Sonic is able to persevere so much is because he's iconic in such a way that it makes sense for Sega and the systems and the games themselves. While the early years and some of the more recent games were all really, really well received, that center section where they were like, "Oh, we should focus on Sonic," and then we're like, "No, don't focus on Sonic. It's not as good as you think it is." So I think that's part of the issue is that like when they weren't focusing on him and they were just making the games because it made sense to make the games, they did really well. And then when they like were, "Oh, we're gonna really focus on it. It's popular." They had Sonic Team. It's like, good music, solid concept on paper, not a good game in not a good game in actual practice. And I think that's where a lot of people were like, I don't get Sonic. I don't understand Sonic. I don't understand the phenomena of Sonic.
And that's
Maybe it's
more.
because I'm not a furry, but who knows?
I would say that disconnect definitely started probably with the late '90s when Sonic went on his hiatus with his until his release on the Dreamcast, and then you had like a new era of Sonic fans whose first game was unfortunately the Adventure series, and not knowing anything about the Genesis games.
Excluding Big the Cat, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 are not terrible games by their own right. They
Fuck
have
you. Big the Cat's awesome. You can kiss my ass in hell.
Fishing mini games, man.
Oh, the fishing mini games are fucking awful. Absolutely. Big the Cat is fucking great.
Oh no, I'm not discounting the character. I'm discounting the gameplay of the character.
Yeah, no, I'm they very specifically put that in because they had made a fishing controller and they wanted people to buy it.
Yep. The bass fishing game that they actually had for the Dreamcast was much better.
Okay.
Fuck, I miss VMUs, man.
Just
Making
go
me
back
think
and
about
watch
my
our.
Dreamcast again.
Actually, I just mailed out my one Dreamcast. I got a brand new shell, so hopefully by the next podcast I can show it. It'll finally be complete. The one that I got modded to hell. So,
the one with the solid state?
GDEMU, the modified Pico
nice.
PSU, the digital DC digital HDMI port, and the Dream Pi that lets me play online. Oh yeah, I souped that fucker up. So I can't wait to show it off in all its glory when I finally get it back. I sent it to my buddy Jose, who installed the HDMI last year for me. So it was great. Yep.
Sweet.
So anyway, Sonic as a phenomenon, he took off in ways that like I don't know. I guess you can only compare him to, I guess, like Donald Duck. He got popular in the 30s and 40s with his shorts. Then they had a shitload of, comic books, a plethora of, toys and whatnot. Sonic the Hedgehog followed suit. He had not one, not two, but 4 cartoon series. 3 different comics, the longest of which was the Archie run comic, which unfortunately ended about, was it 5 years ago? Or was it longer than that?
No, it sounds about right. I have to go back and look.
Yeah, the Archie comic actually ended about 5 years ago.
Well, they've got a new one that's running right now, so.
Well, it's probably one of the newer ones based on, like, the current setup of games, so. But,
No, it's an all-original storyline that I'm aware of.
yeah, it's not like a direct continuation or even has anything to do with the old Archie comics. But, he has 4, like I said, 4 cartoon series. He had a movie finally, which I actually just learned that they originally were planning to make a movie for Sonic the Hedgehog around the same time as Sonic was supposed to have his first game on the 32X and when Sonic Extreme was supposed to come out. Unfortunately, because Sonic Extreme never came out, and the deal with, I forget who it was, I think it was Universal. Universal had the rights to a Sonic the Hedgehog movie back in 1996. And it got canceled. I found that very shocking. But again,
that's for the best.
Yeah. It was supposed to that and Sonic X Extreme were supposed to release at the same time to coincide with each other. And we all know what kind of a shit show that Sonic Extreme ended up becoming. If you guys really want to know more about Sonic Extreme's really, really dark history, I would have to recommend watching Matt McMuscle on YouTube with his What Happened video on Sonic Extreme. Amazing video. He puts out some really good content about anything from good games that never released, and games that have released. Like he just released one, I think, on Mass Effect 3 not too long ago. Mark, you might actually enjoy that one.
No, I've watched Matt McMuscles.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about then. Yeah, so
yeah, he's a good content creator.
Yeah.
And but Spencer, in your eyes, I know you haven't played a whole lot of Sonic, but what do you think of the entire Sonic the Hedgehog media blitz with him, and the cartoons, the float, the comics, the toys, the plushies, all that stuff? I mean, you were probably the target audience at the time.
At one point, yeah, definitely. Because there was, I don't remember which one it was. There was a Sonic cartoon that I did watch as a kid. It was on, all I remember is it was on like Fox for Kids
Sonic
or whatever
X.
on Saturday mornings.
Sonic X, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did he talk about chili dogs a lot?
Yes.
Well,
he did.
He talked about chili dogs in every iteration of cartoon he was in.
He did. I remember that. But I mean, yeah, like Jan kind of said, he was kind of the mascot of Sega, so he feels like the Mario or Pikachu when you think of Sega. You know what I mean? Like you say Pokemon, the first thing people think about is Pikachu. You say Nintendo, the first thing people think about is Mario. Sometimes when you say video games, the first thing people think about is Mario. But it feels like it's a game for anybody. Kids can play it and have their fun. Adults can play it and take it more seriously or get into like speed running and have their fun. And then, you can go watch the cartoon. You can get the plushies. I'm sure there were other toys and action figures and varying things for Sonic. I think it's cool that there's another one that's, lasted this long. Because not every franchise can be cared about this for, what is it, 30 years? Or did you say it was 30? Yeah.
30.
People have cared about Sonic longer than I've been alive. So that's kind of cool.
And Mark, I mean, you said it's been a while since you played a Sonic game, but I like your take on the character and the games and how you felt it was a big influence on the game industry and whatnot.
Honestly, my big point of frustration with Sonic the Hedgehog is that like Sonic as a character is fine. He's a little blue hedgehog. He's also a cannibal, which is very strange to me. but like that is what it is. Um, like it's just I've never gotten over the chili dog thing because it's just like, but wait, you're saving all of these animals from Dr. Robotnik, so you can eat them? I don't understand. But yeah, so my thing is that like Alex Kidd would have been a perfectly fine mascot if his games had been any good.
Exactly.
And if he had a
So
better game
like,
character design, in my opinion, those giant ears on him were just kind of off-putting.
I mean, that is what it is. Like, I thought that the character design was fine when I was like 6, but yeah, that's also fair. I'm just saying, like, he had a good game,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had like 6 more games, and they were all varying degrees of mediocre to trash. So it's like, what am I supposed to fucking do with this? So, like, you look at it from that perspective, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog has an impact to the extent that, you know, he as a character is a big part of Sega's history. And they're chili dogs. It's not cannibalism. I mean, they're made out of fucking like pig, man. Also, he's saving animals from Dr. Robotnik. Anyway,
And then proceeds to make them into hot dogs.
right, exactly. He's like, look, Dr. Robotnik can't kidnap you. I need to eat you. What?
I mean, there's a reason why we never see Sonic's home. It's probably looking a little bit like the shack of the family from, Texas Chainsaw.
I read that My
Oh,
Little Pony
Jesus.
fanfic.
Oh my god.
Oh dear.
But anyway, so Jan knows exactly which one I'm talking about.
I hate it.
But yeah, so ultimately at the end of the day, like Sonic is influential to Sega. Sonic is influential to a certain extent to gaming, but it's just like I feel like Mario has the more structural impact. Sonic is fine and he's definitely, beneficial to Sega, but I just find it very depressing that like a lot of the problems that occur from Sega, beginning and end, just sort of start with like their mismanagement. Sonic is a really good example of how Sega had like a million great franchises and couldn't make any of them work worth a shit. And then they finally got one and they beat it to fucking death.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that.
Or then they
I'm like,
developed a bunch of good
imagine,
ones.
imagine what happened. Imagine what would have happened if like Joe Shinobi had become like, if Joe Musashi of Shinobi fame had become,
Yep.
the breakout star.
Yeah, how long
God.
has it been since we had a Shinobi game? The last one was what, 2001 on the PS2?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
2002.
Nightshade. That would be the last one.
That's right. That was like 2003, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that they didn't do anything. Imagine like they tried Opa Opa for a hot minute, and nobody gave a shit about shooters. Nobody's ever given a shit about shooters. Alex Kidd they tried for a hot minute. Wonder Boy they tried for a hot minute. Shinobi they tried for a bit. Like it's just they have so many amazing fucking brands, and like they just can't be bothered to fucking give a shit about any of them except for Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Except for like in the past couple of years when they've been like, yeah, let's try and make that again. So we've got Streets of Rage 4 and we've got remakes of Wonder Boy and Alex Kidd.
All outsourced to other companies.
Well, I mean, they'll probably actually be good games if that's the case.
Yeah,
I mean,
Streets of Rage 4 ended up being a great game. Alex Kidd looks like it's going to be pretty good. I mean, the
That came out today,
Monster
didn't
Boy
it?
games
God.
were pretty good.
I think it did actually, yeah.
I think so. I kept seeing it on Twitter.
I gotta try it.
Eh.
I beat the original one. I gotta see if I still remember the fucking Jenkin Pawn fucking patterns.
Yeah, so other than just Sonic the Hedgehog, though, the other, and I would have to say the more influential and more impactful game celebrating its anniversary right now is the Quake franchise. Quake releasing today, back in 1996. Jesus Christ. From the pretty much I believe it was also the last game that Romero worked on before he left id to found Ion Storm, and that
And we all know how a tremendously awesome decision that was.
Oh, yeah, that worked out great.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
At
great.
least they made
Everybody.
at least they made
Yeah.
a decent Deus Ex game, but Romero wasn't with them at the time.
No.
But
But
yeah,
Daikatana, am I right?
yeah. But
Ah.
anyway, the Quake 1 was a
Just-
game that actually kind of surprised me because I wasn't really big on PC gaming. I mean, at that point between like 93 and 96, the main games I was playing was Sierra-based adventure games still. Like I was playing Space Quest like still no matter how many times I beat those damn games. I was playing Doom 1 and 2 like crazy. I was playing the Eye of the Beholder games. And I was making my own Doom levels with, Doom level editors from that book I have back there on that shelf somewhere. Other than that, something like Quake, I really couldn't have imagined or have seen coming because I was still playing like my Genesis, my Sega CD, and the 32X for whatever reason my dad decided to buy and thought it was a good idea. And then Quake comes out, and I'm just like, wait, what is this? And I'm playing it on the computer. I'm just like, this is freaking awesome. You got some really awesome music, being provided by Trenton Reznor of Nine Inch Nails fame. At the time, really amazing looking graphics, a really gothic setting with some really dark, like evil.
There's Chthonic
kind-
horror, yeah.
Yeah, Cthulhuic. Like what's the guy's name? Why am I suddenly drawing blanks?
Shove nigger ass.
Lovecraftian is what you're looking for there. I
Lovecraft,
believe.
yeah,
very
Lovecraftian
Lovecraftian,
influential like level design and monsters and stuff like that. It was just the game was a trip. It was exciting. It was fun. It felt fresh. It literally changed the 3D first person shooter market as we know it. I mean, the next big game, believe it or not, was Duke Nukem, which came out like a few months later, but that was on a completely different engine and it was not fully 3D either. But Quake was huge. Quake was huge for id. I mean, not as huge as Doom and Doom 2, but it was still huge. And one of the other things that made it huge was the fact that you could go online and play with people, not like landing it with other people like in your home to play deathmatch with Doom. It was full-fledged online interaction and killing and fragging people. And that was one of the big things. And well, how about you, Mark? What are your thoughts on the first Quake game?
So, I very specifically remember playing Quake offline because I didn't really have online access at that stage of my life. And I remember enjoying the aesthetics of it and thinking it was really great. I think Quake's legacy is kind of all over the place in comparison to Doom. Like, Doom has a fairly uncomplicated lineage. You've got Doom 2, they're both fine. You've got Doom 3, which you either kind of love or hate. And then you got Doom and Doom Eternal, which are, widely regarded as being like beloved returns to form. Quake is, okay, the first Quake is aesthetically very interesting, mechanically very interesting, but in a lot of respects conceptually kind of a mess. Just because like John Romero didn't really know what the fuck he was doing at that time and was kind of mostly just doing level design and fucking off for days at a time.
And then most of the level design was being done by American McGee and Sandy.
Yeah, which are not the people you want designing your fucking levels.
Well,
for
they
a
did the
first-person
majority of the
shooter.
level. Well, they did the majority. Well, American McGee for level design wasn't one of the best, but the majority of the levels of Doom 1 and Doom 2 were done by Sandy, and I thought his levels were probably...
Doom 1 were well, Doom 1 was a sizable portion was actually John Romero. Sandy and American McGee did a few levels. American McGee did the ones for Thy Flesh several of them for the ones for Thy Flesh Consumed. and they can fucking eat my ass in hell. I fucking hate that fucking.
Those were some of the hardest maps I ever played in the original Dooms, not counting TNT and plutonium.
TNT wasn't particularly difficult. Plutonia was fucking garbage. I
If you
know,
hate-
I know. Fucking, I mean, it's good. It's really good, but it's fucking dick, dude.
If you hate yourself, you
Like-
play those two official
Yeah,
expansions.
like I never will I ever be good enough to do that. Yes, as Sean pointed out, as Hungry Monger pointed out, Quake rocked multiplayer. Like that was
Oh yeah.
that was what you
The
loved
legacy.
Quake for. I knew people who had mods set up where it was like you could play as like 80 gajillion different kinds of player characters, including like the fucking Predator and all sorts of ridiculous shit. And it was awesome. It was aesthetically interesting. So then you go to Quake 2, the game that Trent Reznor said he would not do a soundtrack for because it had no personality. That's kind of what Quake became. You know? Quake 1 is a very different game from what Quake ultimately is now.
Right.
If you think about Quake, you aren't thinking about Quake 1, you're thinking about the Strogg or Quake Arena.
Yep.
And it's very strange that the first game, which was this really interesting experiment in 3D and multiplayer weirdness, kind of embraced that multiplayer weirdness, but like as an aesthetic universal thing, just kind of shit the bed a bit.
It's actually kind of weird, yeah. Like as you were saying, all the Doom games didn't really have much of an identity. I mean, the first game was really nothing more than just like an experimental 3D first-person game based around, gothic horror and Lovecraftian lore and stuff like that. The second game was the first game out of like two of the Quake games to have a narrative involving, the Strogg. That the second one being Quake 4. The third one was just where they just, screw it. Let's just straight up embrace the multiplayer and the deathmatch aspect of it, and that game blew up like crazy. Quake 3 Arena. Quake 4 became...
And then they made Quake 4, which nobody fucking cares about.
Yeah, no.
And it's kind of funny because when did Quake 3 come out? Like around 99, and that game was probably it for Quake games for about until the Xbox 360 came out. And Quake 4, I think, was not a launch title, but it was within the launch window, I believe. So around 2006, we got Quake 4. So you had like almost 7-year stretch with no Quake games outside of a Capture the Flag expansion pack.
Which is a big reason why nobody cared about Quake 4. Because it wasn't multiplayer.
Well, it had multiplayer. It just wasn't...
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
Comparatively to 3.
It was just there. It was like the multiplayer for
Well,
Doom 3. It was just there.
The thing about what they ended up so the thing about it too is that they were heavily competing with Unreal Tournament at that time. So you were either playing Quake or you were playing Unreal Tournament, and so a lot of especially like in the early goings of, I don't want to say esports, but like in the early going of like the tournament scene, when it really came down to it, you were either a Quake player or you were an Unreal player. And there was a lot of shit talk and a lot of smacking, a lot of people that were trying to go back and forth between the games, and it just wasn't a thing. And like a lot of that stuff, like when the early 2000s hit and Unreal really started to pressure and push more content, and it was just like, oh, we're going to release Quake 4, and everyone's like, oh, what's it going to be? And then it had none of the stuff that people wanted that was in like Unreal Tournament. Everyone's like, oh, that's much better.
Yeah, it was his game, and the thing is, it isn't even the ones who made Quake 4. It was Ravensoft, who who's also responsible for the Heretic games.
But those were fun.
I know the Heretic and Hexen games were fun, but then how do you go? Well, how do you go from Heretic, Hexen, and then you make Quake 4, and it's just,
I think that a lot of it had to do with the fact that they just weren't. I don't feel like they were as prepared for what the scene kind of had evolved into at that time, and I feel like they didn't grow with the genre And when that happened, they were like, "But it's got story and it's got all this multiplayer functionality and it's better for like online experiences and home consoles." And players were like, "But frag count, you know?" Like a lot of people, I will be absolutely 100% honest in that I left Quake after about 4 years and went just full on into Unreal because Quake just wasn't innovating anymore.
Yeah,
And I
I
feel
mean,
like that's the same for a lot of people. Like Quake really had a hell of a corner on the market with 3 and Arena and a lot of the concept of speed. I think is important when you talk about even now with like modern first person shooters. Games like um Overwatch and Valorant and CS:GO and I know I'm missing one. Um, fuck. What's the other tactical one?
counter. No, you said
Battlefield?
CS. Battlefield actually came out another year later, I think.
It was,
Team Fortress.
that's the one.
Here
Thank
it
you. Team
is.
Fortress 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those games have a much slower pace. They have a much more tactical mindset to them. Especially with like CS:GO and Valorant because they have the stop shoot. Like you have better accuracy when you're planted versus speed, which is what Unreal and Quake 3 were all about. You go, you shoot, you rocket jump, you always move. There's not a point where you plant. There's not a point where you have to hold an objective unless you're playing King of the Hill. But then you've got games like Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, and even with and this is gonna sound really weird because it just came out, but Knockout City reminds me a lot of the OG Quake and Unreal gameplay mechanics. It's fast paced. You're always moving. You're trying to throw your opponent off, by changing up your tactics and using different throws and stuff like that. And I feel like it's got a really good jam to it, but it really has that old Unreal Quake 3 feel to it. And I feel like that's really where Quake innovated was that it gave a different stylization to the FPS genre online when knowing full well that as the games progressed, the internet progressed in such a way that faster connections, broadband, high speed really played to the favorite of those speedier kind of FPS multiplayer games, and it really helped to sort of solidify the concept of like this is what hype is supposed to feel like when you're playing these games. You know what I mean? Like if I'm running around, like say what you will about the battle royale genre. We all know that we're not big fans of it here. Like whatever. But you take a game like Apex and you give it the stylizations of something like Unreal or Quake, and I feel like that really would have been something I would have played a lot more had it not been a battle royale game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be 100% honest in saying that I really kind of hoped that that's what Apex was going to be, knowing full well that we're not getting a Titanfall 3 because of the fact that they did that. But unfortunately, it ended up sort of in the stylization of what it was. But the concept of having the parkour and the hyper movement and the speed really plays to a lot of the positives of FPSs that I enjoy, and it's part of the reason why I like playing it. But again, battle royale. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So Spencer, what are your thoughts on the Quake series or the first Quake game? If you've had a chance to enjoy it at all, so how did you feel about that? And are you actually? I don't remember if I ever asked if you are a fan of first-person shooters in general.
Oh yeah, he loves some FPS games.
I love me some FPS games. So I never played much of the Quake games because I was 3 years old when the first one came out.
Noob, come on.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta drop one every episode. It feels like. Let you guys remember.
I feel
But I did
old.
play
I'm
a
gonna
lot
go get a
of.
drink now. So
But I did play Doom. Obviously later. But by the time I was old enough to play and like figure out how to play a game, especially on a mouse and a keyboard, there wasn't a whole lot to do with Quake because there wasn't really playing it online, and I also I had no internet. Where my parents live, they still basically don't have internet. It's so slow, so I couldn't play online games until I was in like high school. But not really having a lot of experience playing them, what they started and brought is like my wheelhouse of games, and it's competitive first-person shooters. And I remember too, like going around at the mall here and seeing there would be LAN tournaments in the food court at our mall. And I
Remember
would
malls?
remember malls.
malls.
Remember when those were relevant times? But like I could just walk up and stand there and watch people play it, and it was like, I don't know what's happening, but this is really freaking cool.
Mm-mm.
And it's really cool that all these people are here together playing video games because, I already liked video games at a young age, but it was like I played Mario. I didn't play Quake. You know what I mean? Or like I played Pokemon on my Game Boy, and I was like, this is pretty sick. And then seeing like what those things have grown into with the esports industry and how big it is now and how it's this huge global thing is just awesome. And like it would have happened no matter what. Quake just happened to be the thing that kind of kicked it off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the next game would have done it if Quake didn't do it, I think. So it's something that I never really got to like fully experience, but like looking back on it, it's like, man, that's what the roots are for what I enjoy now, and I think that's super cool.
before we end today's, recounting of, days gone by and Spencer, reminding us that we're old now. Any final thoughts on the legacy of both Sonic the Hedgehog and on Quake? Other than the fact that I actually enjoyed both games immensely. What about you, Mark?
I feel it's kind of interesting that, like, when we think about it, both of them are kind of influential, but not necessarily in the way that you would expect. And like that both of them have a degree of influence that they would be considered to wield, but that like that influence kind of doesn't carry the same sort of cachet as like a Mario or a Doom.
Mm-hmm. You, GM?
Also, both franchises very much lost their way.
Who lost their way?
Both franchises.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been trying to do this Quake Championship for I don't know how long. I haven't really
Quake
played
Champions?
it.
Yeah.
Quake Champions. I don't know exactly
Bro,
how well
it's
that's working.
so hella free to. It's so hella fucking pay to win now. Like, it's just not even worth it.
And who's
The
even
amount of
running
unlocking you have to do is just trash.
Was it even developed by id, or was it developed by another
Oh, yeah.
company? It was.
Oh no, it was developed. Yeah, it was developed by id. It was developed by id internal, and then it got taken over by Bethesda Softworks. Maybe now that they're with Microsoft, there's hope for the game to be kind of updated and not so pay to win. But
I'd like to see an HD re-release of Quake 1 on like Xbox. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, fun fact, I actually know somebody who is working on a revival Quake project in the Unreal Engine just to make a fucking point. I'm like, oh, the fucking irony. I think my entire like childhood revolved around PC gaming. I had consoles when I was growing up, but like my main console was a Super Nintendo. And then I didn't get my own PlayStation like until I was like 17.
Hmm.
So like I didn't really have like all my games were PC games. So I grew up with games like Doom and Quake and Hexen and Riven and fucking Thief and like the Wing Commander games and Privateer and like the pioneering days of early online dial-up first-person real-time strategy games, and I'm just like, I do miss those days of hanging out in friends' basements with like 8 computers stacked up on a fucking bunch of card tables with a giant Switch that their dad brought home from work because he didn't have to pay anything for a Cisco Switch, so that we could all connect our computers together and fucking play games and shit.
That's how we used to
Like,
do Halo. If I needed an Ethernet port, my dad would bring it home.
I just think it's like that's the kind of renaissance that I grew up with. And well, yes, I can say that I may pine for the days of LAN centers and gaming with all of your friends on their individual systems. These in this day and age, it's gotten so clunky and so disjointed because of the advent of higher internet speeds and always on connections and things like that, where you can have a game but it's living. You know what I mean? Like there's always people doing something at all times on the servers now, where before it was you had to plan times to get everyone together to play your matches. That it was like, I think we're definitely past that point. I'm looking at you, Sega. Um, but like, certain things are. I think it was that we had decided that there was a show that we had a number of months ago, maybe a year or so ago, when we were talking about franchises that we would love to see come back or remake, like was it 4R or whatever it was that you called it, like remake, remaster, or re-release or something like that.
Remake, remaster, re-release, or retire. Yeah.
That's the one, right? And we were talking about some of the games that are like that, and it's like, man, they just need to retire quick. Fuck.
Yeah,
It was good in its heyday. It was good in its heyday, but man, it's so old now.
Yeah, unless they, give Quake the Doom Eternal treatment, I think it is a franchise that needs to take a nice long sleep at this point. So, but yeah, the night's not getting any younger, and it is time to move on to some exciting topics. Let's talk a little bit, E3 2021, and can we just call it the Nintendo E3 event? Because that's literally what it was.
I mean, for what it's worth, Microsoft did have the second highest watched conference out of all of the other ones, so I think that while Nintendo definitely carried, Microsoft was no slouch this year.
No, they weren't. They actually showed off a lot of great games. The trailer for the last game that they showed off, I forget what it's called. The one with the instead of the zombies, it was vampires. I forget what that was called.
Red something or another.
Redfall.
Yeah,
Redfall.
Yeah,
that looks kind of interesting. Although they didn't show gameplay. I mean, the idea sounds interesting. Could be interesting because I'm tired of zombies. Fuck zombies.
I'm in for the grindcore aesthetic. Can I just say that the title card at the end and the grindhouse aesthetic that they had for that with like the flickering
I love that
camera, like 35 millimeter film grain flicker shit, like that was exactly what you needed to make your title card to look like to really hype that game up. Yes, it's going to be coming out in the year, so we're not really going to know much about it right away. Probably not going to get at least any additional information for another 6-8 months because it's Arcane, but what can you do? But it's Arcane, not Bethesda, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Speaking
of Bethesda, I've seen so many angry people in the Twitch chat, where's Elder Scrolls 7 or 6? Where's Elder Scrolls 6? Where's Elder Scrolls 6? And they just
Oh, by the way, Starfield's a thing that we're doing. Oh,
yeah, I mean they said
Right.
Starfield was the game that they were going to be working on a couple years ago. That was going to be their main game before they move on to the next Elder Scrolls. And people were like, "We want Elder Scrolls 6." I was just like, "But this game looks interesting."
just go buy Skyrim another 10 times. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it
Don't worry
should
about
be
it.
on
right.
your. It should be available on your fridge now at this point.
Fuck. You're probably not wrong, honestly. I feel like there were heavy hitters, but I also feel like Nintendo pretty much was just like, we don't have a ton of information on Breath of the Wild 2, so we're gonna kind of show it off.
Mm-hmm.
But here's all this other cool shit.
Oh yeah, they had a lot of cool
Also,
stuff. That they
Kazuya's in Smash. Like, oh, okay, good. Nintendo's the one making Tekken Cross Street Fighter, not Capcom. Good to know.
or Namco.
No.
Capcom made the one game and nobody
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah,
And
Capcom made Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
And Tekken
And now
Cross Street Fighter was
Namco-
supposed to be made by Namco.
Right. It did get made by Bandai Namco
No,
in
it didn't.
Smash.
Oh,
Yes,
In-
it is
in
because
Smash.
they're the ones working on Smash. They're the ones who are actually making Smash. So it's like, it makes sense that they finally got their character into the game, and now we could play Tekken Cross Street Fighter in Smash.
I guess. Well, anyway, but Nintendo had a great showing. Anyone check Verizon's stream? How'd that turn out? Anybody?
I
Anybody?
completely missed it because I completely forgot it was a thing.
Yeah, I forgot that was happening.
And apparently, Amico, the Intellivision Amico, had a 10-minute conference too. Nobody cares. Okay, yeah.
When Devolver Digital still has more views than your indie ideal company, like, you're doing it wrong. Sorry.
But it's Tommy Tallarico. Everyone loves him, or so they thought.
Put him on
And
a
I'm
stick
fine
and
with
make him
Tommy
talk like a
Talrico when he's
puppet.
making
Yeah.
music.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to say. Otherwise, you just stick him on a stick and make him talk like a puppet. Nobody cares.
pretty much. I mean, Microsoft. Yeah. Was there anything else from Microsoft that you guys found very interesting? I mean, I'm still waiting for that one exclusive game that I really want to force me to buy an Xbox Series X, and I'm just not seeing it yet.
But
Uh,
Halo, am I right?
Yup.
I'll let Spencer talk
And hey-
about that.
Hey, and Spencer, did you hear they finally confirmed there is not a battle royale multiplayer mode in Infinite?
It makes me so happy. It's everything I
glad.
want. It makes me
I
so
know.
happy.
Yay!
Get
Oh,
that
and-
garbage out of here. Stop
Yeah.
making
I have no idea how many actual like multiplayer modes there's gonna be, but my understanding is that it's supposed to be the culmination of all three mainstay 1, 2, and 3 multiplayer modes in Infinite. Plus, I think they added like one new one in 5. I never played 4 and 5, so I honestly don't know. But
I
my
think-
understanding is that it's pretty much every multiplayer mode from every Halo will be in Infinite, from what they were talking about on the multiplayer trailer.
I'm thinking Strongholds was what they added in Halo 5.
Oh, got it.
It's like
okay.
domination in Call of Duty, essentially.
Mm.
Did
But
they
it
bring
looks
back
like there's-
Firefight, which was they had an
Yeah.
ODST.
Yeah.
That's good. I enjoyed that.
I don't know if they will in Infinite or not. Have they said they are?
I haven't heard anything.
The
but-
multiplayer trailer didn't show it, but they did state that it's supposed to have at least 30 modes.
Damn, that's gonna be a lot of games.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to actually see Halo actually have decent multiplayer again.
Yeah,
Because
same.
Let's be real honest. It hasn't really been good since Reach.
Yeah, like 4 was. I've gone back and been playing a little bit more of the older games again since the Master Chief Collection, like, sort of works. And 5 is still kind of the mainstay game.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed 5. I had fun with it, and I still enjoy it. And I think for me, it added like just the right amount of stuff, like the boost, side to side whenever you're fighting is a nice little thing without being over the top. And then I went back and played 4, and I was just like, none of this is fun. None of this is good. I don't like this. This
What do you
isn't
think
good
about
at
the
all.
grappling hook?
Speaking of, other first-person shooter games, one that, I've never played a single Far Cry game, but now that they got Gus Freed in Far Cry 6, I might actually pick that up. So that looks
Did you
like...
see that dog? The
Dog.
dog makes me want to play it. He's so cute. I just
Yeah.
want to pet him.
yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Soccer 2. That's also a thing. That looked pretty decent.
You know what game I'm excited for that was at Microsoft? Party Animals. Do you
Oh
guys
yeah,
remember
that looked bizarre. I want to check that. See some
I
more.
played
of that.
I played a
so
beta
much of that
weekend of it.
fucking game on Steam. You have no idea.
Yep, I played one of the beta weekends of it, and I think from the beginning to when we turned off the computers after the whole weekend, I didn't stop laughing. It was the funniest game I've ever played. The ragdoll physics are a thing that have been around for a long time, and a lot of games use it like gang beasts and stuff. But God, with the cute little animals, it's just so funny.
Yeah,
Just
Party Animals
watching
is
like
great.
a corgi beat the shit out of a bunny and then
Penguin and
throw it
bunny,
off
yeah.
of a submarine is so good. The game is a blast, man.
So,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree with Oath of Melons. I did not expect an Outer Worlds 2.
I didn't
And
either.
Mhm.
I am
That was
largely ambivalent towards it because I was very much one of those people that was evangelizing the game before it came out, that was looking forward to it when it was released. And it was just a fucking wet fart in the bathtub. It came out, I played it, I thought it was fine, and then I forgot about it 2 weeks later.
Yep.
Yep.
It hit the right notes when it released. It played well enough that we enjoyed it while we played it, and then we just shelved it.
Yeah.
As I feel you should with good games.
I will say the trailer for it made me laugh a little bit. That was pretty funny.
I haven't actually gotten a chance to watch the Outer Worlds 2 trailer yet, but like I saw that it was announced, and I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
It like very much
For
pokes
me-
fun at trailers. It's like now there's gonna be the bwah sound. Like
Yeah.
it's all a narration of what would be happening in the trailer, and it's like you could put this in almost any game trailer that's like this, and it would probably match up.
Where's the dubstep?
Yeah, but
Where's the explosions?
But yeah, like that was the way
Where's
that
the
the fucking
kaboom?
first game was. The first game was fucking up its own ass too, and it's just like
Mhm.
it was good, but that's all it was. It had no staying power. It had no real memorability to it in any meaningful way.
God, I kind of feel the same way about Bioshock Infinite.
I really enjoyed that
yeah.
game.
Yeah, but I also think that game is bad.
I'll
That's
say
fair.
though, like Bioshock Infinite, I at least remember the characters. Outer Worlds, you could talk to literally everyone and have a dialogue tree with them, and I don't remember any of those fucking people.
Pavardi was really the only character I care about.
Oh, other games, how about a game that you said on the last show had no chance of actually having any information about it?
All right,
Jan?
okay. Look, I already said that I was gonna eat my fucking shoe. It's fine. Look, we honestly expected more Metroid Prime 4 because everything was leading to that. But then we got Metroid Dread, which is basically just the ship from Wall-E wants its
That's
plant
not what
back.
I'm talking about, Jan.
And then we didn't get Metroid Prime 4, but we did actually get Elden Ring the day before E3 actually started because Keely's are like, hey, guess what I get to do? So like I'm glad Elden Ring does actually exist. I'm sad that it's not Sekiro and it's actually more Souls-like, and that makes me sad. But you know what? I'm glad.
Basically, Sekiro is kind of that, but with like rhythm game mechanics.
See, the stealth and the rhythm mechanics, I feel, are why Sekiro was a game that I actually enjoyed playing versus not enjoying the Souls games. But we've had
for
that
me,
conversation.
it's the counter it's the counter situation
Mhm.
where the rhythm mechanics can fucking the stealth mechanics are fine, but if I want to play Tenchu, I'll just go play Tenchu. And the
Oh, yeah,
rhythm
for sure.
mechanics can fucking. I said it before and I'll say it again. They can get fucking picked up hitchhiking by Ted Bundy.
Devil May Cry 5 did them much better.
Yes,
Uh,
But-
Hell, they even timed it to the music, which was sick as fuck. But anyway,
yeah.
my thing that's really depressing about Elden Ring to me is, God, it's really fucking depressing seeing a company that I loved so much continue to make games that are great that I just don't want to fucking play.
right? Like it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, I'm glad it's coming out. I'm glad it exists. I'm happy for the people who are going to play it, but fuck, I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah, like there's more rumors now that they're making another fucking game that's a spiritual successor to fucking Bloodborne. And I'm like, come on. Like can we please make a fucking Armored Core already? Can I get another fucking Kingsfield? Can I get a fucking can I get a fucking
Wait, did we though?
a
Or was
Shadow
that just a
Tower?
remake?
What's that?
Oh no, that was Medieval, not Kingsfield. I apologize.
Yeah, no. Can I get something that isn't just Souls again from these guys? Like being capitalism is why this is happening. Being successful is the worst fucking thing in the world if you were a company, because all you get to do is make the same game that you made that was successful forever.
What was that? Hold on. What was the other mecha game that From made on the Dreamcast? Do you remember?
The Dreamcast, I don't know. They made another Centuries Odyssey.
I know it. I actually own it downstairs. Shit.
Frame
Frame Gride.
Can we finally get another a Frame Gride remake? That'd be amazing.
That would be nice.
I mean,
yes.
that's hella left field, but I remember that one.
By the way, the Dreamcast version got translated. If you want to download and play it.
I know. That's why I was reminded of it recently. It's called Frame. It's called Frame. Oh, Frame. Spell it. Okay. Gride. Frame is Frame. Gride is Gride, like ride with a G in front of it.
I got it.
So, no, I agree with Sean though. Shadow Tower Abyss remake, please.
Ooh, that'd be fancy.
Speaking of remakes, how about that Diablo 2 Resurrection?
How about that fucking mobile phone game that never came out?
Man, I wonder why that happened.
Fuck,
you guys have phones?
But we all have phones. We have phones.
I signed up for that because Google will let you sign up in advance for games.
Yeah.
I have been signed up for that for fucking 3 goddamn years, and it has never come out.
Didn't they take it off already?
No, it's still there.
It's still there.
That's hilarious.
It has been perpetually listed as we don't know when it's coming out.
You want to know how you make a game?
Did not have a fucking smartphone before that came. He hadn't had a smartphone until last year.
No.
And then he was just like, I'm gonna play every game on the Play Store, and he played every game on the Play Store, and he hated all of them.
Same.
I mean, it's Diablo 2. It's shinier. It's got some updates. I'm excited. I'll probably play it for a while, but at the same time, I'm going to be 100% honest, and I told a couple of other people this earlier, but the Hearthstone team is the only team at Blizzard that I actually care about, and I don't even play Hearthstone.
Yeah, they do a good job with what they do, and they actually care about what they do. It's just a shame that they work for a company that, it's kind of going to shit.
No, they just pee on all their employees at this point.
I mean,
pretty sure of it.
That's part of going to shit. But
I think you guys forgot about the biggest announcement.
Yes,
Robert.
Mark.
Those come from very different holes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your astute observation, Mark.
I'm just saying, those come from very different holes.
Mark should teach a health class.
I'm surprised Mark is working for a bank instead of working as a teacher.
Oh. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm glad no one heard that.
Let's end the night.
For the best.
Yeah, let's probably move on and talk about Nintendo. Because, they had probably the most games that I'm actually interested in. How about fucking WarioWare coming back?
I'm excited for the 2-player online capability.
I'm just excited for WarioWare in general. Multiplayer is just icing on the cake, in my opinion.
I do love me some WarioWare.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an all the time kind of thing, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
Good
Can
for
I just say, I am very hesitant about Metroid Dread.
Well,
Bro,
a game that's been
it's
canceled, and shelved twice, and they finally brought it back because they finally feel like they have the technology to do what it is they want to do with their vision.
It's just Strider
yeah,
2016 with a
Yeah,
Metroid
but-
coat of paint.
But yeah, like the thing that's really frustrating to me is it's. I thought it was like an in-house property, and then I saw it was Mercury Steam, and I'm like,
Well, they say they're working they're not. It's not. Mercury is not the one working on it completely. It's also Nintendo and Mercury are working on it together, as opposed to just giving it to Mercury.
Let's be honest, it's basically the ship from Wall-E trying to get its plant from Samus.
kinda, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm alright with that though.
Hey.
Just I don't like Mercury Steam, so I'm gonna wait. Like I really want that game to be good. I really hope that game is good.
Fair.
I mean,
Definitely gonna wait for a review.
what they did with
or two.
Metroid Samus 2 was pretty good. I enjoyed that a lot, so I'm pretty confident in Metroid Dread. So,
I want it to be good. I hope it is good. If it is good, that would be great. I would love that. I don't have faith in that company. And it sucks and it's disappointing, but I don't have faith in that company.
that's fair.
It's kind of like who's the company that's making the new Fable? We were talking about that, and then they announced it last year. It's kind of that same situation.
The ones that were like making racing games for years and years, and it's like,
Yeah,
that's more of a case of I don't have faith in that company in that situation. But like the other games they've made have been fine. I have
okay.
never liked a Mercury Steam game.
I have no idea what other games Mercury Steam has made, so I really don't have a point of reference. I don't think, unless
Those
I have.
fucking
Same
3D
here.
Castlevania games.
Yeah, I never played any of those.
They were awful.
Which Castlevania games?
The 3D ones, the modern 3D ones, they were
Oh,
like
you're not
basically Devil May
the
Cry.
Lord of Darkness games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. No, I pretty much stopped playing Castlevania like after Symphony, honestly.
The last Castlevania game I played was one of the ones on the DS. I can't remember which one, and I enjoyed
No, I
that.
lied. I played Bloodstained, so that technically counts.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but Bloodstained was rad as shit though.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
Also, Nintendo. You know what? I'm actually kind of excited for. I mean, I haven't played it. I mean, I've only played maybe 3 Mario Party games. I played the first 2. I own 10 because I got kids. Have fun with them. And this new one looks actually kind of fun, like with the retro boards and stuff like that.
Not new. It's the same game. They're just updating it.
Would have been nice if they just made it a fucking expansion for the Mario
Yep.
Party that already exists that they put 4 fucking boards in.
Yup. It's not a new game. It is just DLC update content for the existing Mario Party.
Like, it
That's
looks
all
like
it
it'll
is.
be fun to play. And it'll be
I'm
fun
glad
that it has
they're-
like
I'm glad they're
online
updating
and
it.
stuff, but like you could have made
Yeah.
this like a $20 expansion for the game that you put out and then just went, we don't give a fuck about that. You dumbasses already bought it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally the same game just with some extra shit, and you're paying full price for it. Good luck.
And the other one that
I mean,
thought looked
it is Nintendo, let's be honest. Like, that's kind of their bread and butter.
Touche.
And the other game that looked interesting to me was Mario Golf. I mean, that
Bro,
looks very zany as shit.
That game
I'm
actually looks
so
fun.
excited for that. I've never been more excited for a Mario Golf game since the GameCube. Holy shit.
I do love me some fucking Mario Golf. Mario Golf is the shit.
Yeah, Mario
Okay,
Golf looks fun as hell.
so are we all gonna get that and do like a GVN like Mario Rush night where we're
Oh,
like
hell
doing
yeah.
Rush Golf?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right on.
I'd be down. I'd totally be down for that.
Yep. And I guess we should end the night with, Zelda talk. Does anybody want to say anything about Zelda?
Fuck
Link
Zelda.
has-
It's
Link
fine
has
that it
long
exists.
hair.
I'm glad it exists for the people that like Legend of Zelda, but fuck Zelda.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jen.
I mean, I would. She's
mean-
cute.
I mean, like,
I-
I like
yeah,
Breath of
exactly.
the Wild. I'll probably like this one too, but
I mean, I play
I don't know.
Genshin Impact. I know how good it is.
God damn it.
Goddamn. No, the only game that I'm honestly really excited for, but got maybe like a second worth of press, is the original dev team from Suikoden finally got their Kickstarter finalized, and they were able to announce.
Euclidean.
Yeah, they were finally able to actually fully announce the systems and the consoles that it'll actually be playable on. That was big news for me.
I'm actually confused because they announced 2 games. It sounds like.
Yes, it is so there is a main game, and they kickstarted more than enough to actually make a side story game.
Oh, okay. So
it will be 2 games for the price of 1.
So
because they kickstarted enough to get both that and the side story game.
So I backed it. Now, does this mean if you reached a certain amount, like if you kickstarted with a certain amount, do you get both games, or are you only going to get one?
My understanding is that both games are going to be included, but only at like a specific tier and higher. Like, I think there's 2 separate base tiers. They had like an early bird tier that they're adding it to, and then they had a late tier towards the end of the Kickstarter that's only getting the base game. But you can still add like a little bit. I think it's like $5 or $10 extra to your existing thing. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Yeah,
but
I'll have to go back and look at it later.
You can slacker it and get both games now that I'm thinking about it. So like you can slacker if you didn't already have it on your current tier. But yeah, that was one of like the big things that I was really excited for, that they actually announced that the side game was actually official and that you were going to get both games. And I'm like, nice.
Okay. So overall, though, what do you guys think of? I mean, after the absence of E3 last year, how did you guys feel about E3 this year with it being all digital?
I mean,
Fine.
It's always been all digital for me, so.
Yeah, like I've gone out there physically and done whatever, but it's like I don't know that I would ever feel comfortable doing it again, at least not for a few more years yet. So the idea that they've sort of expanded it in a way that we can collectively have more access to it in that regard, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I like it the way that it's done now too, especially for Xbox and Steam, of those demos that you would probably go play on the show floor, you can just play at home now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure for people who work in the industry and that's like their full-time job, and they get to go see other friends that work in the industry, and this is like an industry event coming together, that would be cooler than like going to the show floor now that I can just play these games at home. It's, I could play them from the comfort of my couch on the TV that I'm going to play them on, or from my desk on the computer that I'm going to play them on, and see how it's going to work really. You know what I mean? Instead of like, they have this running here on this specific screen with this specific PC build, but as soon as I put in a different graphics card, it shits the bed.
Right.
So I think that's super cool. And it makes it accessible to everyone who's interested in these games, not just people who are either going for work or can afford to fly out and go to the event.
Yeah. I also think that the move to all digital is actually kind of a smart one, especially now that GF Keighley's got his Summer of Games event that's taking place pretty much now around the same time as E3, so they have to compete with that at the same time. So
that's a misnomer. He's been working with the current group that's running E3 so that they coincide on purpose. He gets some games, they get the rest, because E3 is basically the lead-in for the major developers. Jeff is the one who's getting industry firsts for specific individuals to hype up E3. That is the whole point of what the Summer of Games is all about. It is basically the E3 pre-hype show, and what the big groups and what the major developers are actually going to be releasing.
So then he's changed focus of what his Summer of Games was, because last year it took place in the middle of July for a couple of weeks. Now it's actually taking place in the middle of June for this year. So he's changed everything, apparently, is what you're saying.
Not everything, but a lot of the focus shifting happened because of COVID and because of how E3 was handling their stuff. And the fact that he's been Jeff has been more hands-on recently in the last like 2 years than I think he's ever been because of the big shift and the failings of E3 in general. I honestly see him and his group doing more to sort of facilitate E3, along with TGS, Gamescom, and any other major game announcement weekends that are kind of existing now, because that's like his passion. He wants to PR the shit out of games. And while it's, let's be honest, it's Jeff Keighley, he's kind of a weird guy and he's got a weird face, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't have it's the old saying, he's a little confused but he's got the spirit. I feel like Jeff is going in the right direction for the first time in a really long time, and I think that's good. And I think that what he's doing and how he's sort of facilitating like a pre-show of stuff before the big events now has really put a emphasis on the games again. And it's forcing the developers and everybody else to kind of do the same thing, because it isn't just about the industry anymore. It's about the gamers, it's about the fans, it's about the consumers. And that focus has really been shifted because of his work and because of the fact that he's put so much pressure on some of these bigger names. Like, let's be honest, and I know that you said this on your stream, Spence, this is the first time we've had a Microsoft conference that wasn't touting a major sports game and wasn't talking about fucking TV on your console.
Right?
It's about the games. It's about the console. It's about the integration of your entertainment with a controller in your home versus big money. Which is weird to say, but like that is kind of what Jeff and his group have kind of started forcing these major developers to kind of have to do. It's a huge paradigm shift, because up until recently it's always been big money, big money talks, and that's really what's going to happen. And I feel like Jeff's pushing for what his group has been doing to really push the developers towards more open access. And the fact that Sony has continued to not show up after the absolute debacle that was a couple of years ago really tells, like, there's a reason why Sony isn't there. And it's not just because they don't have something to talk about. They have a shit ton to talk about. But the problem is that all these other companies are on the bandwagon of, no, I think you're right. And Sony is still kind of in that background level of, well, we want crossplay. Yeah, but a couple of years ago you said you didn't. Yeah, but we want games in the home. Yeah, but a couple of years you were all about, what's going on, Sony? So I feel like Sony is like this last sort of resistance of the old ways. And like even Microsoft and Nintendo are like, nah, it's about the games and the fans. We know what pays the bills. Though I will say, Nintendo's handling of this year's E3 was kind of rough. And I'm being really nice about that. I don't know if you actually know about this, but you couldn't co-stream the Nintendo conference. If you did and you saved your VOD or you had clips of it, they would immediately go for a DMCA takedown on it. So that's weird. That's not something that they've done in the past. They didn't have that big of a hard-on for not letting you co-stream that stuff. Not to say that people didn't. They just didn't save their VODs and they turned off clips for that stream. But outside of that, like, Nintendo is still on board with the concept, which is, it's 50. 6 of one, half dozen the other, you take what you can get at that point.
Okay. What are some people's final thoughts on E3 and this whole thing before we wrap it up tonight? And let's start with you, Spence. How did you feel about E3 in general?
Um, what I got to see and what I've been able to like watch and stuff was good. I liked it. I think Microsoft, in my opinion, kind of had the most things that I'm interested in, and seems to be kind of gonna take off here. They showed 30 games. 27 of them are going to be on Game Pass. The three that aren't Microsoft owned properties, which is Diablo, Battlefield, and whatever the fuck the third one is that I'm forgetting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Far
but we
Cry.
already know.
Far Cry.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
Far Cry. Well, that and from what, and I think you touched on it too on your stream, but I'm pretty sure that Battlefield be on EA Play. So
Yep. So that'll eventually be on there. It might be 6 months to a year later, but it'll be there. And I mean, I can't speak for like devs or anything like that or the business how that works, but if you have an Xbox or a computer and you pay for Game Pass, I've played so many games I would have never even looked at if I didn't have it. Like the Dungeon and Dragon game that we were just talking about, Dark Alliance, after seeing the reviews for it and like watching the gameplay that I initially watched before reviews were out, there's no way I would have bought that game.
that screen shake is so bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it's included with this service. I spend 15 minutes downloading it and I go, I don't like this. Oh no,
Wait,
I
really?
uninstall it. Oh, like it's not a huge deal. Um, I I like the move to digital too, and this is just from a production standpoint because they can do more with the show. Like the live one, they're on a stage and that's it. You know what I mean? But like being digital, they can be in like Microsoft was in a sound stage and it looked like they were using something similar to like the screens that were used to film Mandalorian that run on like this crazy Unreal Engine real-time stuff that can play like around them and under their feet, and I'm like, this is pretty fucking cool to watch. Um and then I I have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth with Nintendo right now over the whole co-streaming thing because like, well, shut the fuck up, Nintendo. Like, why? Like, you're not special.
What do
You're
you
not
mean
better
Smash
than
isn't gonna be
anybody.
an Evo?
Yeah, you're not better than anybody. It's free publicity. Shut up. Um, but yeah, like I'm excited that there was something this year and it wasn't just the summer of games, even though that's pretty cool too. But like after the main event from Microsoft, the next day they had another breakdown of even more stuff. So like just having multiple things like that work in tandem that people can just throw up in the background, while they're working or can stream and watch with their friends. Super cool. I like it. I'm into it.
Alrighty, and your final
I
thoughts,
really want
Mark?
to play Halo.
Of course you got to get that in there. Mark, your final thoughts?
I mean, I thought he said he was gonna disconnect if he died.
No, I
I
was
did
on
too.
mute. Sorry.
Oh,
I was going to
Welcome
say
to
it
the
first, but
booth.
Jan beat me to it.
had him.
I was. But at the end of the day, I appreciate that it has moved in a way to, I think, allow it to survive in the modern era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ultimately know what that's going to do as it relates to. What's the word am I looking for here? I don't know how that's going to ultimately transition what it is as an organization. Like making it like a digital thing is probably going to be very different in a lot of respects, from a business model perspective. But you know what? I think it's probably the best possible way that we can do this sort of thing. And I think this year was good as it relates to what we as a society going forward would want.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess that wraps it up right there. Before we say our goodnights. Oh, it's late.
Old people are tired.
Yeah, the old people have to go to bed now. So, let's see what everyone's got coming up on the horizon. Let's do the round table. Jan, what do you got coming up?
Tomorrow is Monster Hunter. Thursday is going to be PSO2 New Genesis. And then Saturday we're continuing Okami's run through of his first playthrough of Fire Emblem Three Houses. He picked Black Eagles to start. So that'll be fun. And yeah, it's been a bit of a busy week, but we're getting back into the swing of things of regular streaming again, which is nice.
Okay, Spencer, what you got coming up?
Hopefully next week should have some form of coming back to streaming. Now that we have the new air conditioning, I'm gonna see if I can close my door during the day. To hopefully be able to maybe do daytime streams.
That'll be cool.
If I can't close the door, then I can't do that because my wife works in the room right next to me, and me screaming like a dipshit during her real job isn't going to be a good thing. But if I can close the door and kind of like dampen that sound away, I want to try to do some daytime streams again because that works a little bit easier with like other friends' streaming schedules who stream in the evenings. And that was kind of where I just in general feel like I had more success in the past. So hopefully we can do that. Other than that, I am... Yeah, I'm telling. God, I was about to say something about thing. Yeah. So my good friend, Fishhook FPC, and I are going to be starting a podcast. So he is like the first person that I ever made any kind of gaming content with, and he taught me like the basics of video editing, and we got started doing this stuff together. And we ran a channel called Spark Gaming. My name's Spencer. His name is Mark. It's spelled Spark. It's like the perfect name. So we are working on starting a podcast called The Spark Pass. And we are going to get together, and he and I are going to choose a game from Xbox Game Pass. We are going to play it, and then we're going to come together once a month and talk about it in like a games club, book club fashion. We'll probably talk a little bit about like game and Xbox news, and then just kind of bullshit together like we always do, because there's no way that we can do anything together and not have a little bit of chaos, because that's just who we are as people. Yeah, it's going to be starting out. It's probably going to only be an audio podcast because we are recording apart, and we're trying a service that lets us record together, but it still be independent audio tracks for me to edit. And we might do video. I'm almost 100% sure we won't live stream it unless there's like a huge call for that at some point. But it's going to start as just audio, and maybe video will come later. But yeah, we're gonna do a test tomorrow, and if the service works really well, we're gonna go ahead and record the first episode. If it doesn't, we're gonna go back to the drawing board and figure out how we want to record it and stuff, being separated.
Okay. And Mark, to finish things up before I do my shindig, what do you got coming up?
Kind of planning to do a proper board game night, which may or may not include a stream associated with it, sometime in July. Otherwise, right now, kind of just like working on work stuff before I start thinking about doing any like proper streaming or anything like that. So that's where I am right now.
Okay. As for me, again, like I said, this coming Sunday, I have the Virtua Fighter Biweekly number 31 with the big $500 pot prize. Full 64-man bracket. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to have 3 other people stream this event with me. Of course, mine is going to be the primary stream. As for other things that I'll be streaming, I'm on vacation this week, so I might stream tomorrow night or Thursday. I mean, I usually try to play Among Us on Friday nights with some friends, but I haven't done it in a few weeks, so I'll see about getting back into that. You guys are welcome to join me. I know Mark hates the game, but if anybody wants to join me for Among Us, I mean, when you play it with people you know, it's actually a lot more fun.
I
than
mean,
with a bunch of randos.
You say that.
True.
And while that's mostly true, I don't think I've touched Among Us since like it first came out. Like it
You
was like a
played
big deal
for-
for a while, and I think I played it for like a solid month, and then that was it. And it just kind of dropped off the face of the planet. And I know people still play it a lot, but it's like
How could you not enjoy Game of the Year for 2020 when it came out in 2018?
right?
but they released a 2B outfit for Fall Guys. How could I not play that?
Exactly. Alrighty.
Yeah, that's a
And
game I haven't played in a long time either.
yeah.
Lel.
So, on behalf of everybody here on Gaming Vision Network Live, thank you everybody for participating and chatting with us, listening to our rambles and whatnots, and have yourself a good night.
Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye, y'all.